Welcome to Biocompchatibility, the first ever podcast focused on the biocompatibility of medical devices. NAMSA is happy to bring biocompatibility to you, where each episode features leading industry experts and their discussions on biocompatibility challenges. Be sure to visit www.namsa.com for more information and to access all podcasts and transcripts. We hope you enjoyed today's episode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Biocompchatibility, the podcast, our first episode. NAMSA is happy to bring you this podcast. My name's Sheri Bibins.
And this is Pohl joining Sheri today.
We're super excited about this podcast, the first podcast that NAMSA has ever done. Also, the first that we can find anywhere out there, a biocompatibility podcast for medical devices. So we're trailblazers, Don.
Well, yeah, there could be a reason for that, but let's not go there right now.
There could be a reason for that. That's true. We'll see how many followers we get after our first few episodes as to what that reason might be. So anyway, we are just happy to try this new platform. Don and I have been involved in training at NAMSA for years, and we've gone around the world and talked to many of you about biocompatibility, and we've heard lots of great stories, and we've learned things, and we keep learning things. And as this topic keeps changing and getting more and more challenging in the industry, we thought, hey, maybe it's time. Let's do a podcast.
Yeah, and as you know, Sheri and I tend to do on a almost daily basis, there's always something that we find ourselves talking about in the area of biocompatibility. So if we have the opportunity, why not share some of that? I'll call it useful knowledge. Maybe some of it is not so useful, but that information with others, and again, see what kind of feedback we get about what we have to say.
Yeah, I guess we're being pretty presumptuous that people are going to be interested in what we have to say, I guess, Don.
We are, but we have to be because, else we wouldn't have a job, I guess, to some degree. But
it's just one experiment after another. Yeah.
And if my daughter who's in college says she's super excited about this podcast, then that just warrants us to keep going forward. So anyhow.
Between your daughter, your wife, my husband, maybe we have at least 3 followers.
We will have a solid 3, if not a couple other family members that join in just to laugh at what we talk about all day. So,
or to make fun of us for acting like fools on a podcast about biocompatibility. So
exactly.
We've been talking and we haven't really told people who we are. So we thought it'd be kind of fun. We go around the world, like I mentioned, doing trainings, and I've introduced Don a number of times, but he's never introduced me. So we thought it'd be kind of fun if we take this opportunity and we introduce you to each other. We've both been here a while, so we know a little bit about what each other's past is here at NAMSA. So I'll start. My co-host is Don Pohl. He is the Director of Product Development Strategy here at NAMSA. And he's been here for over 25 years. Don's been involved in the biocompatibility of medical devices nearly that entire time, whether he was a study director or manager. I think you had a brief lapse in sanity and worked in IT for a little bit, didn't you, Don?
I did. I don't know what I was thinking, but it happened. So
yeah, anyways. Right. But you're back where you belong. And, Don spends pretty much the most of his days speaking with customers and helping customers with their biocompatibility challenges. So, happy that he agreed to do this podcast with me. And so, yeah, Don, I'll let you go now.
Yeah, Sheri, the other co-host today, is currently the marketing manager for biocompatibility at NAMSA, but got her start at NAMSA roughly 17 years ago and was a account manager for basically, like, I guess, Southern United States, because that's where she's at. And yeah, did that for a few years. And I always brings me back to, the story that of all the presentations, it's probably up in the hundreds now that I've done at NAMSA. The first time I ever presented for NAMSA was when Sheri was an account manager, and she was actually there way back when in Florida when I gave my first NAMSA presentation. So it's a few years later, let's just say.
It's a few years later.
We've aged graciously.
I have a few more wrinkles. Yeah. Well, we've aged graciously. Sure, we can say that.
Yeah.
This is a podcast. They can't see us, so
exactly. They can't see the lack of hair that have developed over the years for myself.
I still have hair. Okay, I have a full head of hair.
Anyway. So
Yeah, go ahead.
That's Sheri, and she has a background, graduated from University of Nebraska, so she's a Cornhusker at heart, even though she doesn't live in Cornhusker territory anymore. But that's so that's Sheri, as I know it.
Well, thanks, Don. That's a good analysis. That's pretty good. Yeah, and coming from an Ohio State Buckeye, I appreciate the call out to my Cornhuskers. So you did well there.
Excellent.
So let's talk about what our podcast is going to be, what NAMSA's biocompatibility podcast is going to be about. And so one of the first things that we were talking about when we first, the concept happened was the name. And at some point I said we should call it biocompchatibility. And if I could have had people sitting in front of me, I probably would have seen these perplexed faces wondering what in the world I was talking about. And then, as we talked about it, we kind of liked it, didn't we, Don?
We did. I had to stare at it for a little bit and break it down into the syllables so I could actually say it out loud. But I think I got biocompatibility down now to the point I really don't even have to think about it too much. And again, going back to family members screening things through family before you do anything too embarrassing. Passed it by the younger generation, my kids, and they were just like they were in love with the name. So I guess it's podcast worthy from that standpoint.
That's great. See, we aspire to be young and hip again.
We do.
We aspire.
We do.
So if Don can pronounce it, I can pronounce it. So we thought it was interesting when folks said they would have trouble pronouncing it. So we went around to some of our NAMSA colleagues and asked them to say the name of our new podcast. So here's a few of those recordings that we captured from our colleagues. Hey, we have a new podcast.
Congratulations.
You know what it's called?
Biocompchatibility.
Biocompchatibility.
Jean-Marc, have you heard of our new podcast?
Do you mean biocompchatibility?
Yes, exactly. Hey, do you know we have a new podcast?
No.
Have you heard of the name?
No.
This is the name.
Biocompchatibility?
Exactly. So, as you can see, some of them had absolutely no problem saying it. Others a little bit challenged. We even had a French colleague in town. He was able to let it just roll off his tongue. So I think we got something. I think we're good to go.
I think so. I think it's is recognizable enough and can be pronounced well enough that we can stick with it, I think.
Yeah. When our marketing communications manager was talking to me about this, and she said, Sheri, it's kind of hard to say. It's got to be recognizable, and I'm just not sure. And I said, well, nobody could say Farfignugan when Volkswagen started using that so many years ago. And I know I've just dated myself. For those of you that don't know what Farfignugan is, go Google it. It was a word. It's a German word that the Volkswagen used to market themselves years ago. And I think it didn't mean like fun or fun traveling, or I don't remember what it meant, but I know that Volkswagen said it was Farfignugan, right?
Exactly. And then, it made its way into commercials and all that good stuff. So, I don't think we have to go to that extent here, but
Okay.
I think it'll work.
We won't be doing any primetime commercials for biocompatibility.
No, we may just have a link on our website or something that it, maybe explains it. Who knows?
Sounds good. So Don, let's talk about what kind of things we're going to do here. I know we've talked about the name and that we like to go around and talk to people about biocompatibility, but I think, an overview is we're going to try to do at least one episode a month. There might be times where we get ambitious and feel like jumping on and recording an extra one in there sometime. We're going to try to remain very topical as to what's going on. This industry is changing constantly, and biocompatibility, for lack of anything else, is just one of those things that used to be seen as very simple. Anybody can do biocompatibility, right, Don?
Anybody can do it.
Right. So that's not maybe the case anymore. And so we're really interested in sharing those challenges and, giving some insight here from things that we see in the industry. So at least one episode a month. We're going to have an opportunity for you to interact with us via Twitter. We'd love for you to send any questions or comments. So if you're sitting there already tired of listening to us, you can tell us we need to jibber jabber less by tweeting us at NAMSA_MRO on Twitter. And we'll be watching those and taking your suggestions and everything into consideration.
Exactly. And I think our plan with the first couple episodes was to start off easy, easy topics, or what's perceived as easy topics, something like cytotoxicity, sensitization, and irritation, discussing things around those topics. And then, fairly quickly, potentially on the next one after that, diving off into the deep waters of chemical characterization and ISO 10993 Part 18. Leaving the world of simplicity, going into the world of complexity, and then I'm sure we'll find some things to sprinkle in along the way after those as well. But certainly, as Sheri said, trying to keep things relevant to what's going on in the industry, and certainly ISO 10993 Part 18 with it, if it hasn't as of the day of recording this, if it hasn't gone to a published FDIS, it soon will. So it will soon be a ripe topic for discussion for sure.
Absolutely. I think it may take many episodes for us to talk about that and get some experts on with us, as well as, NAMSA has a lot of history in biocompatibility. So we're looking at bringing you some of that history as well, and some of those folks that might have been involved in the early years of drafting the standards. And we're just excited to be able to bring things to you on a little different platform. So if you're listening, how to find us. You may have found us either on the website on namsa.com/resources/podcasts. You can find all of our recordings there. You can also click there to find your favorite podcast store where you can subscribe and download and listen. And we're going to have transcripts available of nearly every episode. So if you get tired of listening to us, you'll be able to read transcripts as well. So we're just excited to bring you this platform.
And one thing to, it's not always going to be just us, obviously.
Exactly. Yeah. Rest assured.
Yes. Otherwise, I must say, I might get tired of hearing myself talk after a while.
We probably should have said that in the first 1 minute instead of now. But well, there won't always be us, just us.
And they won't necessarily be just NAMSA people either. I mean,
correct.
The more we can get people from industry to join us, if we find ready and willing people to discuss some of the topics, and especially if they have relevant experience or knowledge in a particular area, certainly we'll have others join us if they feel inclined. So
yeah, and if you want to join us, if you want to be one of those folks, think you have something that everybody'd like to hear about biocompatibility in one way or another, you can contact us on Twitter at NAMSA_MRO, and we will get in touch with you and be in contact. So I think that's good for our intro session for today. We are happy that you're here listening, and go on and listen to episode 2.